All right, I'm live again. Um, cool. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. I wanted to do this yesterday, but you know, things got in the way, and I wanted to do this earlier, but just had things to do today as well. So, doing this when I have the free time, and I know in the evening streams aren't the most lively ones, but hopefully it's early enough that a few of you might want to come in and hang out and chat along with me. And yeah, so let's look at what we got here. I got my the rares to do here. So if you haven't watched one of these before, basically what I do is put each card in a tier. I'll read the card, give my thoughts about it, and then decide, is it a god tier card? Is it going to impact the meta? Maybe it won't completely impact the meta, but it's a solid card nevertheless. Um, if it's functional, meaning it might not be the best card in the world, but you can definitely use it, and I won't laugh at you about it. Rare use cards, they are going to be niche, or you might just find ways to play it, but they'll never be that useful outside of that. And then there are cards that are just junk that you master and then never think about them ever again. So, as the chat comes in, maybe I will look at my phone for the chat because I never know. Sometimes the chats don't really show up on the live streams for whatever reason. So, I'll monitor it that way. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. First card, we got Ancient Amphitheater. It is a land. Support card, 13 mana, 3 shields. When the support enters the board, if you have a giant card in your hand that can gain mana, that card gains half its mana rounded down. At the beginning of your turn, convert 3 gems to white or red. Okay. There's something interesting about the giant cards in your hand that can gain mana, and then um, because I believe we'll see some cards where the creature type gains half their mana as well. So there is a janky way to gain something full mana, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, just as it stands, I think these are functional for sure. They definitely seem to have their use here. Um, three converting 3 for 13 mana is not bad. I mean, there's definitely better, but yeah, there's a lot of different ways to gain mana, so I think they're decent lands. So putting them there and functional. All right, Arbiter of Nullridge. We got a giant wizard, 5/5. With vigilance, 18 mana. It's a little steep, but when this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain life equal to the number of giant or giant reinforcements you control. Then reinforce this creature. Okay. So it does keep reinforcing, and it does get uh, fairly large relatively quickly as you go. You can throw this into an Ajani deck, and it's gonna give it prevent damage in that way. So yeah, I think this is a solid creature. 18 mana kind of scares me a little bit as far as the utility, but I think this is a solid little giant card. So if we get it with half its mana, then it's only going to cost you 9. And with a Johnny, that's that's just one white gem swap, and you have it ready for you. So yeah, I think it's a good Ajani card. Maybe something you might play in Plague Control or something, where you play peasant decks. Ashling's Prerogative, 10 mana, 4 shields. When a non token creature enters the battlefield, convert a gem to red. Interesting. Then, if there's an even number of red gems on the board, that creature gains haste until end of turn. Okay. It's going to take some figuring out to find the right deck for this, but it does have some use there. Converting gems whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield makes it so that maybe you're going to play this in like a Koth Zoo deck or something like that. Um, so yeah, I think that this card has some good use to it. I think it's a little bit better than a rare use card. I think that this card might find its way into a fair amount of decks. So I think I'm going to put it as functional. It's a little too niche, I think, to be really widespread, but I don't know. Maybe people will like it more than I do, but that's where I'm going to put it. Auntie's Hovel, 13 mana land. Okay, so basically all these cards, these lands, give your certain creature types half their mana. If you have a goblin card in your hand that can gain mana, that card gains half its mana rounded down. So if you have a bunch of goblins in your hand and you play this card, do they all gain half their mana? That'd be great. At the beginning of your turn, convert 3 gems to black or red. So as a land, it's just okay. But as an ETB, I think it's got some good stuff happening with it. Again, functional land. You do have to play them with a certain creature type to get the most out of them. So that's why I'm putting him there. Because without that, if you're not playing with these other creatures, they're just fairly mediocre lands. They're a little expensive for what you get, especially when you look at MKM lands, how much cheaper they are for basically a little bit better function in terms of gem conversion. So yeah. Boggart Harbinger, Goblin Shaman. When this creature enters the battlefield, fetch the first goblin card from your library. That card gains half its mana rounded down. Okay, so you start to connect the dots here, and you put that goblin land along with something like this. It gains half its mana. So if you play that goblin, I think that maybe you can. I don't know if it would loop. Like I'm kind of thinking a little bit along the lines of a Herald type of loop. Herald of Skemfar, very popular loop deck in Legacy. So is there some version of Standard that would have something a facsimile of a Herald loop? That is interesting. I don't know yet. I'll have to mess around with these cards and figure out if there's something there. My guess is probably not. I think Webcore has been surprisingly clever when it comes to making sure that these cards don't create like huge loops. I mean, they don't catch everything, as I will show you soon. But just in terms of the cards as they're written here without thinking about them too much, I think there is something there. So it's a little too weak to be that impactful. I think we're going to put it in the rare use category. Black goblins don't usually have black, but maybe there's like a red and black deck that you can make out of goblins that you might like. Hold on here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and make these a little cleaner here. All right. Fit to screen. Okay. Next, we got the Boggart Shenanigans. Support card, enchantment, goblin, 3 shields, 10 mana, and it's got Kindred. So when a goblin card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, deal 3 damage to your opponent. This effect can trigger up to 4 times per turn. That's very niche, right? First of all, you need to play a bunch of goblins in your deck. And then that effect, you're playing something that's going to be destroying your library. And yeah, you're just going to max out at 12 damage. It's okay. I don't know if it's bringing enough to the table to really um, warrant a slot in most decks. So for me, this is a classic master and forget card. Even if I was like all in on goblins, I don't think that card is going to be better than some other more functional card that's giving me mana or something, or fetching cards for me. So I just don't think that card is going to make it into very many decks. Cairn Wanderer. Okay, this card is pretty fun. Black Shapeshifter, 16 mana. It's got Changeling. When this creature enters the battlefield, if you have a creature in your graveyard with a basic evergreen, this creature gains that basic evergreen. So there was discussion as to whether this would only grab you one basic evergreen at a time, but no, actually, you put a creature in the graveyard and it grabs all of the basic evergreens that creature has. So I threw this in a deck with what's his name, Sire of Seven Deaths, which has like 5 evergreens on it, and yeah, this creature got them all when it entered the battlefield. So that was pretty awesome. I think this card is very fun. Um, you're gonna have to build around it, and it's not like a huge body. But I think it is a solid card. But would I put it solid tier? I think I would put it functional tier. I think it's a little bit more of a novelty than something that you're going to play a lot with. But it's a cool card. I liked it. I like playing it. Changeling Berserker. So this is a changeling. So all these cards that have changelings, um, they are every creature type. So I'm wondering, can you play this with the lands and stuff? A goblin, is it gonna grab um, when this comes into play? Problem is, it only becomes every creature type when it comes into play. So yeah, if it's in your hand, it's probably not gaining mana from those lands and stuff. So that brings him down a little bit. He's still a 5/3 with haste and is a leader, shapeshifter, elemental. I think that's a lot of fun. I think this card can, because it has elemental leader, it can get big fast. So this is going to be something you're going to want to play with something that creates a lot of elementals for you. I think that's pretty cool. I think I'm just going to put this in the solid tier just because it's got that leader. Okay, Changeling Hero. This one's a weird one. Leader Shapeshifter. Now, there aren't a lot of cards that create um, Changeling tokens, as far as I could see. So, what you're going to have to do is give your tokens a creature type that this Changeling guy can eat up. So if you make this your so if you make your tokens into changelings, then this guy can eat them up and grow that way. It's pretty tricky. One of the best ways of doing it is if you have Omo from PM2. It's a masterpiece, so not a lot of you are going to have her, but it's a great card and it lets you do wacky things with leader. So that's where I would try and build for him. Without that, it's really hard to get changeling onto your tokens. So it's pretty niche, but it is a pretty good card when you get it going. It's a 4/4 with lifelink, so it's got some use to it. But I think that this one's going to be mostly a rare use card. I don't see a lot of people jumping through all those hoops to get that to really take advantage of that leader. But I don't know. I could be wrong about that. Hey, what's up, Chris? It's a few different people who come to the later live stream, so that's always fun. Cloud Thresher, 15 mana. Is Let me just check to see if no the problem with that is once you have changeling tokens, literally any other leader will do. Yeah, exactly. So it's, yeah, that's a funky way of how leader works, right? Um, yeah, let's make sure the chat is working in the live stream as well. Maybe not, but I'll just keep an eye on it and bring it up when I need to. 15 mana, 7/7, flash and reach. Creature elemental. Okay. When this creature enters the battlefield, deal 6 damage to each creature with flying and each planeswalker. I don't love dealing damage to myself, all my creatures with flying. So, I mean, I guess the way to mitigate that is to not have flying creatures in play. And 6 mana or 6 damage to both of you. I think it really depends on where you're at in the game, whether or not that's going to be that impactful. But I guess I could see it doing something for you there. I don't know. I don't love it. I think it's okay. 7/7 with reach for 15 mana is okay. It's not bad. But I think those little things about it make it so that most people probably aren't going to want to make it a staple card in their deck or anything like that. So I'll put it here. Rare use. Hey, what's up, Eridorn? Kolfiner's Urn. Support card, artifact, 15 mana for 4 shields. When a creature with toughness 4 or greater dies, move that card to your exile with a challenge emblem. Okay. At the end of your turn, if there are 4 or more cards with a challenge emblem in your exile, return the first card with the challenge emblem from your exile into play under your control. Okay. So if you destroy creatures on your opponent's side, then you can bring them into play in that under your control in that way. So it's like a not as good portal to Phyrexia, basically. It's a lot of jumping through hoops. The effect is cool, bringing creatures from the graveyard from basically either side, or your exile really from either side. But I don't know. It's a lot more hoops to jump through than I think a lot of people are going to care to do. I do think it's good enough that people will still try and use it. Especially if you're playing like a deck that has a lot of things dying, or you're killing a lot of things. So I think it's going to be a rare use card. It might be better than I am giving it credit for, but I don't know. Cards that have a lot of prerequisites just don't really tend to last too long in the meta. Hashtag master and forget. It's cards that you throw into a deck to master, then you never play them again. Basically. Dauntless Doorbark, 12 mana, Tree Folk Warrior, 0/3 with Trample. At the beginning of your turn, this creature gets +X/+X until the beginning of your next turn. X is the number of land cards and Tree Folk cards you control. Pizza sounds good. X is the number of lands and Tree Folk cards you control, including their reinforcements, up to 15. Okay, so you can play a bunch of like forest tokens and tree folks and all that and get this guy up to 15 mana or 15, but it's pretty dependent on your board state there. So what I've seen people play this with already is that card that gives your tree folks prevent damage. So if you play a tree folk tribal card, this could show up in it, but you're not, other than that, you're probably not going to play it much. So it's definitely, to me, the definition of a rare use card, where it's so dependent on a bunch of other things. You do get decent amount of utility out of it if you do end up doing that, but I don't think it's enough to really show up in other decks outside of that type of card. And I think that's really sort of the theme of this deck or this set, is that you're just gonna end up playing a lot of tribal decks because that's just how this set is built. So, um, yeah, I think a lot of these cards are kind of gonna be self-contained, like to this set. And I don't know if that will make the set have much longevity, but I don't know. Maybe there's enough cards just outside of the creatures that have a decent amount of utility going forward. But that's really what we're trying to predict here. Elvish Harbinger, 7 mana, 1/2 creature, elf druid. When this creature enters the battlefield, fetch the first elf card from your library. That card gains half its mana rounded down. At the beginning of your turn, gain 3 mana. So, even if you're not playing with other elves, you still get a little bit of mana from playing this one. It's pretty weak. It's 1/2, so you really need to buff it in some way. But beyond that, yeah, it's a lot like that goblin we saw a little earlier, where you're fetching elf cards and gaining half their mana. I do think that there is something to the gaining half mana and then the lands gaining the other half of a creature type. So I'll put this in functional because I kind of like that little 3 mana bump that it gives you every turn. So it might have some utility outside of that. But I am very intrigued. I need to figure out what is the deal with that little land creature combo thing. Epic Proportions. Target creature gets +6/+6 and gains trample. I'm seeing a lot more Sap Summons than I used to. That's what I was saying. I think there might be some version of a standard Herald loop waiting for us to discover. I just haven't really put the time in. I just kind of just came to me thinking about it now when we're going through the cards here. But yeah, it's definitely worth exploring. Anyway, Epic Proportions. This card's all right. Gaining Trample is pretty relevant, like I was saying. Sab Sunnins around. Sire of Seven Deaths can sometimes be a pain to deal with as well. Yeah, there are a couple other cards. Pride of Hullclade. What are some other things? I would say Sab Sunnin is the one that you really want to bash through. There have been definitely some battles where I was just waiting to get something because my creatures were gigantic, but they just kept slamming into Sab Sunnin, and so a card with Trample would have helped a lot. So I think this card is definitely, I don't love those singular buff cards. Like people were going pretty crazy the other day about getting that double strike spell that we got in the uncommons. And I was just like, you're probably not going to play that card that much. As cool as double strike is, it's if you can get double strike in a way that's a little more useful overall as a card, I would go that route instead of just dedicating one whole slot in your deck to something that gives you double strike. Trample 6/6 might be a little bit more worth it, but maybe not. 10 mana Fairy Wizard. Okay, here's the fairy version. It's just got flying and 2/2. It's less useful than the other one. And so, yeah, this is kind of a weak card either way. So I'm going to put it here in the rare use category. Be rough without mid-val lands, I think. Well, yeah, but that's why I was saying those lands that give your creatures of a type mana. But the problem is you'd have to have a bunch of creatures of that type in your hand. So it's not going to be nearly as easy to pull off without a card that gives all your cards free mana. But I don't know. There might still be something there. Fire Shrieker is a good card. It's a card that I was using for a little while. I use it here and there, but I was using a lot when I first got it. Eventually, all those cards that just kind of give your creatures a basic evergreen or a buff, and that's all they do, eventually make it out of my decks. It's not that they're bad, I just need more utility cards. And those just aren't utility cards. Here's the one for elementals. If we're playing with that card that is giving you things for playing elementals, then this card can work with that. So I think that this one, I think it's a little bit better than some of these other ones because there's just a little bit more supporting them. So I'm going to put it in the functional category. Forced Fruition. I just got this card not too long ago. 17 mana, 3 shields, support card, enchantment. When a player casts a card, that player draws 6 cards. This effect can trigger up to 3 times per turn. So basically, when you play a card, when either player plays a card, you're just filling up your hand. And that can be really strong. I don't know. I don't think that we need to spend a whole deck slot on a card like this. But I don't know. Maybe you don't have great blue draw spells, and this card will fit that bill for you instead. So I think that this is kind of a placeholder card until you get something better. 17 mana is a lot, and it's giving your opponent card advantage, which you don't usually want to do. There might be some reasons you do want to give your opponent a bunch of cards, but that's going to be pretty niche. So I feel like this card is kind of niche. So we're going to put it in the rare use. Giant Harbinger. Okay, here's the one that gives you giant cards, full half their mana. Yeah, that's cool. I don't think giants are great. So you're going to want to have to build basically a giant tribal deck. And I didn't see any great giants from this set. So I don't see a lot of people wanting to do that. But there will be some. So we'll put them there. Gale Powder Mage, 10 mana, 3/3, flying and bravery, Kithkin Wizard. When this creature attacks, reinforce target creature you control until end of turn. Okay, so this was one that I think I might have been talking with Aradoran about on Gaz's Discord, where when you reinforce a creature yours temporarily, there are 2 ways to build for it. One, you want something that triggers when you reinforce a card. And then what's a temporary reinforcement, you want something that triggers when you lose a reinforcement as well. And in the Phyrexian block, we had more cards that did things for us like this. But I don't know if there's a lot in Standard right now that will do that. That will trigger anything all that great for you. But I'll have to look at it. I think that this card is probably going to be rare use. Unless I find something that really really combos well with it. I'm tempted to put it in the master and forget, but not quite there. Wish we got a standard Hamlet bag. We kind of do with, what's his name? Railway Brawler, but he's not a giant, so doesn't quite work that way. Okay, here's the... Sometimes I just gotta throw up the... what do you call it? The chat on my browser. Don't know why, but it won't show your guys' chats until I do that. Okay, here's the land for elves. Converts to black and green. So there are a couple of black and green elves that are in the Golgari color pie. So I guess that makes sense. And yeah, I think that there are a lot of elves that fetch themselves. So there's something here. This one, yeah, I think I'm going to put this one in the... I think elves are a much more popular subtype than giants, for example. Maybe even goblins. But yeah, there are some good elves. In Origins even are okay. But we got a decent amount right now that are cool. So that's a maybe a card that you want to look at for that. Oops, I skipped one, so let's do that first. Immaculate Magistrate. 10 mana, 2/2 elf shaman, activate 5 green, reinforce each elf creature you control. That's pretty cool. 5 green shouldn't be that hard to trigger if you're doing green conversion, or if you're playing those new cards that pop activate gems. So we just got to find some elves that have a decent body to them, so that the reinforcements actually mean something more than just making your 1/1s 2/2s and what have you. But there's that elf that is an elf leader, so this is going to be a good way to reinforce that guy too. And that's a 5/5, and that's a pretty solid size for an elf. I like this one. I think it's probably solid. The only thing that makes it not great is that it's only a 2/2. But I think it's an okay card. So nothing really meta defining or god tier yet, but still fairly early. Are there more elf legends than any other creature type besides humans? That's a good question. I honestly have no idea. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask. Hoofprints of the Stag. 12 mana, 3 shields. That's something you can bug Zivert about, and he'll probably humor you. He'll go out and do the um, the research for that. Maybe even the hunter. But I don't know. They could be like, Maynard, shut the hell up. I'm not doing that. Kindred Elemental. When you draw a card, increase this card's level by 1. Okay. When this creature card level becomes 4 or more, create a white elemental token. Then this card's level becomes 1. I think it depends on what the white elemental token does. Without knowing that, worst case scenario, you're just creating an elemental few turns. I don't know. In a really loop heavy deck, this card probably isn't going to make the cut. This is one that you're probably just going to mess around with for fun. Unless somebody knows what white elementals are and they're amazing. I doubt it for a rare 12 mana, 3 shields. My guess is probably going to be like a 2/2 or a 3/3. And yeah, it's just okay. I don't know. I am going to call this a master and forget, because I doubt that elemental is going to be that impactful. And we'll just put it there. Okay, do those activate cards always keep 5 activated every turn? The activate gems refresh on the beginning of your next turn. So if they all got popped on your last turn, then 5 new ones will come back. If you only pop 2, then those 2 that you popped will come back. So that's how that works. The card would die to any sort of defender so fast, though, right? Yeah. Can you loop draw hundreds of cards and discard them? You can with Kolfiner's plans, and I was doing that. And maybe that will be my next video, spotlighting a card. That card is crazy, and it is weird, and possibly broken. Incandescent Soul Stroke, 8 mana, 2/2 Elemental Shaman. When this creature is on the battlefield, your other elemental creatures get +1/+1. Activate 1 red. Move the first elemental creature from your hand to the battlefield. That creature gains haste and imminent death. You're going to be playing this with a lot of elementals, right? But activate 1 red. It's going to be tricky to hit very often, and your other elemental creatures getting a +1 is not much, because you're only going to be gaining a +2 for your entire group. So this card is just not really bringing much to the table. Elementals coming into play for free, but then basically dying at the end of your turn. There, is that really how you want to use your elementals? Probably not. So I'm going to put this in master and forget. Jagged Scar Archers, 8 mana, 1/2 elf archer with reach and first strike. At the beginning of your turn, your creature gets +X/+X until the beginning of your next turn. X is the number of elf cards you control, including their reinforcements, up to 10. I actually kind of like this card. I played this a little bit, was mastering stuff and trying things with elf tribes, and I actually kind of liked it. It is a 1/2, so you definitely got to buff it in some way. But it reminds me of those cards called? Halana and Alina, some of my favorite common creatures ever. Well, it's actually one card named Halana and no wait. Now what is it called? Hana and Alina, something like that. Whatever they're called. But yeah, they're great. And this card reminds me of that, gives me those vibes. And as long as you buff this card, it can do a good amount of damage for you. It's a pretty good blocker in that way. I like it. I think it's functional, though. I probably like it more than the average player would. So I'm just going to put it in the functional category. Let's see. We got the Knucklebone Witch, 3 mana to cast, 1/1 with menace. It's a goblin shaman. When a goblin card is destroyed, this creature gets +1/+1. Okay. So how do we destroy our goblins? I think there are a few goblins that destroy themselves, and you can sack other goblins with them to get benefits. So very niche, and I don't know if it's strong enough to do much more than that. Even like if you're playing a bunch of goblins, you're probably gonna want to play better goblins that grow faster. You're better off creating more goblin tokens than just destroying that one to buff this one. So yeah, not good, I don't think. Kithkin Harbinger. Creature Kithkin Wizard, 1/3 for 6 mana. When this creature enters the battlefield, fetch the first Kithkin card from your library. That card gains half its mana rounded down. Okay, so here's the Kithkin one. Kithkin, unless they're bringing this creature type into more sets later on, it's just going to be too niche, and most Kithkin cards aren't great to begin with. So unless you're really trying to build some sort of Kithkin tribal deck, I can't see anybody really caring that much about this card. So there you have it. Master and forget it, I think. Mad Auntie, Goblin Shaman. I love the art for this one. 11 mana, 2/2. When this creature enters the battlefield. Okay, so yeah, so they all get similar cards, each color, I think. When this creature enters the battlefield, your other goblin creatures get +1/+1. So it's like that elemental. Activate 2. Your other goblin creatures gain regenerate 5 until the beginning of your next turn. Yeah, regenerate is just not really a mechanic that people care about that much. It's not that relevant. If your creatures have defender, then I guess that's cool. If as long as they're staying alive. But if this was a permanent status effect, then I would like it more. But it's just, yeah, not bringing enough to the table, I think. Putting it there. All right. We're about halfway through. Not bad. Masked Admirers. Creature Elf Shaman, 3/2 for 8 mana. When this card enters the battlefield, draw a card. That card gains 6 mana. I like that. When you cast a creature card, if this card is in your graveyard, return this card to your hand. Okay, interesting. Yeah, there's something there with the drawing card and gaining 6 mana. Play this in a deck that has a lot of cheap cards, cheap spells. Maybe you can get some more use out of it. But yeah, I think that this card has some very niche uses for it. I don't think it's going to be great, but it does have a little bit of an upside. I kind of like it. Got that one. Rate it poop. Which one? I missed which one you were talking about. The Mad Auntie? Militia Pride. Kithkin enchantment. 3 mana, 8 shield. Or 3 shields, 8 mana, and it's got Kindred. So it's a Kindred Kithkin. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a Kithkin soldier token. So it's a slow way to create a token every turn. This card combos with the one that is a Kithkin leader. So that's really the only time you're going to be using this one. And if you like that Kithkin leader, then you'll use this. If not, you're probably not going to. I don't know. It's at least it's a token generator, so we got to give it that its proper due for that use. So we'll put it in the rare use. Okay, yeah, the Mad Auntie. Okay. Marrow Harbinger, 12 mana, 2/3, Merfolk Wizard. As long as your opponent controls a blue creature, this creature gains menace. Okay. Well, that's relevant for Sabsunin because Sabsunin is blue. So there you go. When this creature enters the battlefield, fetch the first Merfolk card. Okay, so it's one of these. Grabbing Merfolks. This will be relevant in that event, Survivors of the Four Tribes, when you're trying to summon Merfolk. So here's a decent way of doing that. So yeah, I think this is rare use. Decent against Sabsunin and fetches merfolks for objectives. So yeah, I respect it. Nettlevine Blight, 60 mana, 4 shields, enchantment, aura. Okay, so possible Daxos card. At the end of your opponent's turn, destroy an opposing land card at random. Okay. If you can't destroy a random opposing creature. Okay. At the beginning of your turn, the support loses 1 shield. All right, so it's continuous removal. We like that. Um, yeah, so we can get rid of maybe a desert, a demolition field with it. And once they do that, then you're destroying their creatures on their side. This is a solid card. Is it meta, though? Would I consider this card meta? Um, it's possible we might see it rise in popularity. I don't know, though. I think a lot of people would probably still rather play cards that destroy other cards outright. It's kind of like a worse version of a Undercity Plague, which is a fantastic card, but um, I don't know if people will rate this card nearly as good as that one. It's not, but it's still a pretty good card. So we'll put it solid. I like it. What are the chances you'll be able to remove it straight away? I mean, it really depends. If you're not playing support removal, you should be. Oblivion Ring, 10 mana, 2 shields. When the support enters the board, exile a random non-token opposing creature. If you can't exile a random non-opposing support, that card. Oh, okay, so it's one of these bind emblem cards. So yeah, there you go. It's an enchantment, so Daxos can fetch it. So it's pretty solid in that way. Yeah, it's 10 mana, so you might see it used in Colors of Magic because it's going to be 10 and or a card that's a rare card that's 11 and under that can remove things for you tend to be pretty popular in that um, event. So I don't know how much we'll see it there. Not as much as if it was 11 mana to cast. So I'm going to put it there. Una's Prowler. Could be bothersome like a Rakdos. Yeah, but like Rakdos can take it out, right? Unless well, unless your opponent unless you have creatures in play, Rakdos is going to target those first. So Rakdos might get one of your creatures, but then that support will get their Rakdos. So yeah, there is a case to be made for it being anti-Rakdos tech, but it would be dependent on you having other things on the board and not just that card as your only defense. This is a fairy rogue. When a player discards a card, this creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Okay, so if you play this with something like Lock and Load, you can get this card to be pretty big pretty quickly. For a 5 mana creature, not bad. You're going to have to play in like a heavy discard deck. And best way of making that happen is by drawing a bunch of cards and discarding them yourself. So maybe playing this in a deck that has things like Time Reversal that makes both players discard. There's a niche use for this card. It's a 5, so it's a 3/1 for 5 mana is actually not bad. It'll take a little bit of clever deck building to make this a useful card, but I do think that once you do, it's bringing a lot of power for a 5 mana creature. Hey, what's up, Scott? Scott, what's your in-game handle? I'm trying to remember. Pollen Lullaby, 13 mana, flash. Spell card, disable your opponent's creatures until end of turn. That's pretty good, especially if it's got flash. Then Clash. If you win, your opposing creatures gain stun counter 1. That's pretty good. Yeah, this is a pretty solid card, especially if you get to double dip with the stun counter. Yeah, this is I'm almost tempted to call it meta, but I don't know if a lot of people are going to play it. But I like it. I think it's a pretty good card. Amadeus. Okay, sweet. Good to see you here. 13 mana. Secluded Glen. Support card land. When a support enters the board, if you have a fairy card in your hand that can gain mana, this card gains. Okay, so it's the fairy one. 3 gems to black and blue. Good with Una. Okay, this is a very good card to pair in a fairy tribal deck with Una because Una loves it when you match gems to black or blue. You can be gaining a bunch of mana, so that's a good way of helping you get there. So, yeah, definitely functional. Solid when playing in an Una deck or fairy Una based fairy deck is where I would try and build for that card. Beyond that, it's a decent land, like I've been saying with these cards. Shape Sharer. Activate 1 blue, create a copy of target non-token creature into your hand. Okay, so it's a 1/1 for 5 mana, and you have to hit that blue activate gem, and it's only going to put that creature into your hand. It's okay. I don't know. That's a pretty good effect, but it's such a weak creature. At least it's cheap. Um, I think I'm just going to have to put this in Master and Forget. I think it's going to be frustrating to when you're not going to be able to hit that activate gem, and it's just a 1/1 creature that's not really doing a whole lot for you beyond that. So that's why. Goslav's Witch Rare. Shriekmaw, 11 mana, 3/2 menace. Okay. Elemental. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact creature. Okay, yeah, this is going to be meta only because it's an 11 mana rare. So that means you're going to see it in Colors of Magic. It destroys a creature. So it's like it's sort of a whip cracker, but relevant for Colors of even more relevant for Colors of Magic. So it's only meta because of Colors of Magic and how important that event is for getting PMA cards. So you're gonna see it there a lot. So I gotta say it's meta impacting. Beyond that, maybe not so much. It's still a decent card otherwise, but yeah, because it's Colors of Magic ready, that's why it's there. The fishing one. Oh, really? This guy, the Shapesharer, he loves this card? You gotta tell me why. I'm not seeing it really. 60 mana, 5/5 Giant Warrior. When this creature's on the battlefield, your giant creatures get +4/+4 and gain trample. Okay, so 15 mana becomes 9/9. And then any of your other giant creatures. So it's definitely kind of a rare use, but you do get a decent amount out of it. So yeah, even without other giants, it's still a 9/9 for 16. So yeah, it's functional. It's not great, so it's not ever going to be that anything like meta impacting, but yeah. I think you just like the artwork. Oh, okay. Well, that's just great and dandy. Surge Spanner, 13 mana, 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. When this creature attacks, there are 11 or more blue gems. Return target opposing creatures to their owner's hand. It's a nice effect, but how often are you going to have 11 or more blue gems on the board? Probably not super often. And then it's just if that's not happening, that's just a 2/2 for 13 mana. So I just don't think it brings enough outside of a very specific board state. So I gotta think it's mastering and forgetting it. Sig River Guide, 7 mana, 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. It is white and blue. As long as your opponent controls a blue creature, this creature gains menace. Okay. Activate 2 white. Target Merfolk creature control gains prevent damage hexproof until the beginning of your next turn. This is most relevant when you pair it with the leader Merfolk that has Defender. Beyond that, do we care that much if your creatures gain hexproof and prevent damage if they're not actually doing much with it? Not really. So because it's such a niche card, I think it has to be a master and forget. I don't even think it's good enough to warrant a rare use slot. Sorry if you disagree. Hit me up in the comments, I guess, so I can ignore it. Thorn of Amethyst. 6 mana, 3 shield, support card, artifact. At the beginning of each player's turn, increase the cost of all spell and support cards in that player's hand and graveyard by 2. Yeah, I just haven't found a really good reason to use this card. I guess you can play it in Colors of Magic, but then again, that's just gonna make all your cards that much more expensive too. I don't know. I guess you could see this as a troll card in Colors of Magic, because if you play cards that cost less than 11 mana, like 9 mana at most, and then you just make all their cards cost 13 mana, so it slows them down a bit. So that is a pretty niche reason to want to use this card. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'll do that just for shits and giggles the next time Colors of Magic shows up and just see if it does wreak havoc at all. Could be fun. So yeah, rare use. Aren't a lot of cards that are X gems on the board usually like 8 gems? 11 seems high. Sure does. 11 gems is a lot. Thundercloud Shaman. Creature, giant shaman. Okay, this one pairs well with the one that buffs your other giants, because it'll be a 6/6 with defender, will become a 10/10 defender, and that's not bad. When this creature enters the battlefield, deal 6 damage to each creature without the giant subtype. So that's kind of cool. So definitely a giant tribe deck. You know, I don't have a lot of these yet, but there might be something to a tribal giant deck. So yeah, functional. Needs to be paired with the other cool giants, but if you do, not bad. Vivid Crag. Okay, we're getting into all the Vivid cards, so we'll just kind of talk about them all right now. Being returned, convert 4 gems to red. Then this support loses 3 shield. Why? Why 3 shield? um, I guess you can get something out of these cards that bring lands from your graveyard back into play, but or something that triggers when you lose a land or lose a support in general. So there's a lot of things that you can maybe get more out of it, but let's be real, you're mostly playing lands to get the function of a land, which is usually gem conversion. Um, some cases it's just straight up gaining mana, but really for the most part, you want lands on the board for as long as you can keep them on, because they're going to just keep giving you good mana turn after turn. So this card kind of goes against that in a way, as do all the rest of these. So I don't know. I try to use them, and I just tried to use them as just straight up lands, and they just die too quickly to get a lot out of them. So it was just a bit frustrating. So I need to figure out a different way of taking advantage of the fact that they leave the board so quickly, and I just haven't put in the time to do so. So for now, I'm putting them in rare use. It's possible if I find something to do with them, I can bump them up higher, but for now, they're just going there. And yeah, let's just put them all down. Vivid Crag, Vivid Creek. Let's try and do this the easier way. running out of space, but we are to the V, so there's not too many cards left actually at this point. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. So far, so good. Good chatter in the chat. So actually, let's just make sure it's actually still. Oh, this is not refreshing. I have to go to my browser and pop it up before the chat refreshes again. It's so annoying. I don't know how to change that or make it better, but till then, I'll just have to remember to click on that chat on my browser for it to show up on the stream. This is a land. Okay, this is a merfolk land. Convert 3 gems to white or blue. Are there a lot of... I don't know if there are very many white merfolk. So I don't know how much you're going to want to put this into a deck. Are you... I feel like merfolk, you're probably going to go green-blue or black-blue. Not really white-blue. So I don't know. This one might just be kind of a rare use land. If you don't have better white-blue converters, you'll probably just say, might as well use this one. But beyond that, maybe not. All right, Woodland Guidance. Green mana, or green card, 8 mana, spell card. When you cast a spell, clash. If you win, convert 6 gems to green. Okay, so your opponent's next card has to be 8 or lower, right? For this to convert 6 gems to green. Return a random card from your graveyard to your hand, then exile this card. So 8 mana for the possibility, very good possibility that it really doesn't do anything for you. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this card is going to be very frustrating. When it works, it's when you win a clash, it's going to be pretty nice. 6 gems to green is not bad, but there are just better conversion spells out there. Even in the best case scenario, you might not even make a good match with converting 6 gems. So it's tough. Unfortunately, I think it is just going to be a master and forget. I don't know. Maybe it's better than I think, but the fact that it's 8 mana to cast would be cool. 8 mana to convert 6 gems to green would be amazing. Problem is, it's got a pretty heavy or a pretty I don't know, up to RNG functionality to it. So I just think it's going to end up being frustrating for you a lot of times. I don't even think it's as good as Nissa's what's the Nissa spell from Origins? The one that converts, it's a 5 mana spell that converts to green if there are a certain amount of green gems on the board. You know what I'm talking about. Animus something. Do you see the land that converts but it loses shields? Was that an uncommon? Looked like total garbage. Yeah, Pilgrimage. Yeah, something like that. No, Nissa's Pilgrimage is just a little support card, or is a support card that converts 2 gems to green, right? Converts. Well, yeah, the lands that I just went over, the vivid ones. Is that what you're talking about? Wings of Velis Veil. 6 mana with Flash, Kindred Shapeshifter. Target creature's power and toughness becomes 4 and 4. This creature gains Changeling and Flying, then this creature loses all its reinforcements. So I played with this card a little bit. I just wanted to see, is it as bad as I think? It's okay. You can throw it on a creature or on a token that if you have a continuous token generator, something like a Thopter Spy Network or something like that, Thopter Fabricator, then this card is cool because that power and toughness is permanent. But if you're not using those, a lot of times you maybe don't want to use it. I mean, it's okay. If you're not using it with tokens, If you're playing it with weenie creatures, yeah, it's fine. I want to say this card is functional. I think it's going to frustrate a lot of people who are used to cards like Relic's Roar, where you don't lose reinforcements by playing it. Because you definitely don't want to play that card, you know. Um, well, actually, maybe you do. A Judas Satoru loop. You play this once um, on your Devils, and then you just target Satoru or Judith any other time you um, you play that card. So I think it's functional. I think people maybe hate that last part of it, but aren't giving the rest of the card enough credit. Because if you make your Devils into 4/4s, every time you cast a spell, you're gaining 16 power instead of 4, right? So that's pretty strong. But there are better cards out there. However, I think for 6 mana, it's not a bad card. Okay, we're at the last one. Um, Goblin Shaman. Oh, Wart Bogart Auntie. Okay, so they all got aunties, these goblins. 14 mana. I kind of like the art, though. The little goblin babies. They're funny. Goblin Shaman. At the beginning of your turn, return the first goblin card from your graveyard to your hand. When you cast a goblin card, deal 2 damage to a random opposing target. It's untargeted damage. 14 mana for a 3/3. At least it's got menace. I just don't think it's bringing a lot to the table. If you're casting a lot of goblin cards, you're probably doing something else that's getting you more utility out of that than this card is. Dealing 2 damage to a random opposing target isn't quite enough to really justify going through all that trouble to cast a bunch of goblins, at least if that's your only reasoning for it. So yeah, mastering and forget. Unfortunately, no god tier cards in the rare. But that's pretty rare to get something like that from a set anyway. Kind of disappointing. Only one meta impacting rare here, in my opinion. There are some that could possibly become more meta impacting. I just don't know yet, and I wasn't confident enough to make that assertion here. So yeah, a lot of the when I go through these rares, they usually tend to be on the bottom heavy side anyway. There tends to be a lot more just rare, like sort of niche cards and cards that just aren't that good. The further down in rarity we go, the more we're just going to find that. So this is kind of typical. We'll look at compared to the Edge of Eternity's rares. So here we go. Similar color, similar spread. Only one god tier card. You obviously know that's Space Time Anomaly, right? So, and then what was my meta impactor? Pinnacle Emissary. You know, it didn't really impact the meta. You saw it here and there, but I think people just didn't really care for it that much once they got over the fact that it just goes infinite when you create certain tokens. So I think people got bored of that. The people who did discover that. So yeah, I was wrong on that impacting the meta as much as it did. So there we have it. Yeah, there are the rares. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Thanks for hanging out. I definitely have ideas for upcoming videos. I have ones that are pretty old at this point. I just need to sit down and knock those out. So hopefully I'll do that soon. Definitely before the holidays, I want to go through all the Planeswalkers that have come out in 2025 and give you my take on them. So it will help you decide whether or not you want to pick them up in the sale. So look forward to that. And yeah, I think that's it. Feel free to check out my channel membership if that's something that you're interested in, um, and see what sort of videos I have available for my channel members if you are so inclined. All right, that's going to be it for me, and have a good one. Thanks for hanging out. Am I doing a new Jace video? Um, you mean like one specifically showcasing Jace in a video, the Lorwyn Jace? I wasn't planning on it, but um, I feel like I kind of just went through them when I did my first look at the Lorwyn um, planeswalkers. So far, I haven't found any more reason to spend time making a new video just on Jace. You don't want to member up. That's fine. Most people don't. Oh, I thought I heard he was good. Well, he is good, but I just got sick of doing the Planeswalker reviews because they just keep coming out. Um, every 2 months, I gotta do like 3 more of these videos that take like 6 hours for me to do. I was just like, I can't do it anymore. Um, but yeah, I don't know. If I make a video for that and put it behind a paywall, will you pay for it? Because that's really the only thing that's going to motivate me at this point to do that amount of work for Planeswalker at this point. When I do my Planeswalker round table or roundup of all of them, it's going to be pretty quick. I'm going to go through each Planeswalker, probably about 5 minutes worth of time on them, because yeah, I think that not only is that the capacity I have for it, but probably people's attention span will be that as well. Holy cow. Well, today was a good one. Oh, well, thanks. All right. Well, yeah, again, see you next time. I'll see you on the Discords, and yeah, have a good one.